Welcome to another live stream during which I'm going to reveal what I believe are the best bets in Major League Baseball for today, Wednesday, June 14. Thank you so much for being here. So a special hello to Jimmy Kuya from Pennsylvania, who is here today, Keith Davis, BMT Seidel. Thanks so much for tuning in. All right, so today I want to discuss 5 potential wagers in baseball. The first 4 are backed by one of my betting systems, and the last one is simply the result of my own analysis of the situation. Also, stick around until the end because I'm still running my free prediction contest that will last only today and where you could win $50 US, 50. And it's quite simple. All you have to do is predict the outcome of the 12 games that start at 7 p.m. or later today. Now, more details towards the end of this live stream. It's free to enter, so why not give it a shot and show us your handicapping skills. All right, so today the first system pick is supported by a system called the Hot Bats. Now, as you can see on your screen, there are 2 different criterion that can trigger a bet, but the one that applies today is the first criterion. So let's read it together. This system, by the way, is the result of a big data analysis where I analyzed data on 7 full seasons. It recommends fading the home team, so that means betting against the home team, if they won their past 2 games by scoring 6+ runs in each of those victories. All right, now today the Seattle Mariners are at home, and let's look at their recent schedule. And they did win their last 2 games by scoring 9 and 8 runs respectively. So their offense has been on fire, and based on historical data, it is preferable to fade them, which explains why today's first system pick goes to the Miami Marlins, with the money line being plus 160 at the time I prepared those slides. So that was like at around 8 a.m. Eastern time this morning. Maybe the line went up or down. I'm not too sure. Now, is this an official pick, just a lean, or a play to avoid after digging deeper? Well, let me tell you a few more words about this game. Well, first of all, I want to warn you that the Hot Bats system has performed quite poorly of late. In fact, it has a 2-10 record over the past 12 bets. So that's a source of concern. Now, on the mound, we have Yuri Perez, who is a rookie 6'8" giant. He owns a stellar 2.17 ERA. He has done a great job. As a matter of fact, his worst outing of the year has been to allow just 3 earned runs, so that's not bad at all. But he is facing Luis Castillo, who has a 0.99 whip statistic. Now, let me remind you quickly the typical values of the walks plus hits per inning pitch statistic, also called the whip statistic. The league average is 1.30. If your figure is above 1.50, that's very bad. If it's below 1.10, that's great. Now, Castillo has a whip stat of 0.99, which is outstanding. But the main reason why I have decided to avoid this betting play is the fact that Seattle is super close from qualifying under the famous scoring drought betting system. I've told you quite often about this betting angle recently. It now has 19 straight wins. That's right, you heard that right. The scoring drought is on a 19 bet winning streak. That's incredible. Now, unfortunately, no teams qualify under the scoring drought today, but the Mariners are very close from it. Because I'm not going to remind you all of the rules, but one of them is that the road team must have scored 2 runs or less in their past 2 games. And the Marlins scored 1 and 3 runs. In fact, yesterday they scored, let me find the game. Yeah, as you can see, yesterday the Marlins scored 2 runs in the top of the 8th inning. If they had scored just 1 run or 0, we would be taking the Mariners today. Well, that's based on the scoring drought. All right, so that's why I certainly don't want to bet the Marlins today. But as usual, it's up to you. You are the decision maker. I'm just here to give you as much valuable sports betting information as possible, and you decide what you want to do with that information, whether you want to tail my picks or not. All right, now the next 2 picks. So the system picks number 2 and 3 both qualify under the blowout number 1 strategy, which is quite simple to follow. It says, bet a team that won its previous game by a margin of 8+ runs if they're facing the same opponent today. Now, the first team that fits under the system is the San Francisco Giants. The best odds I saw earlier today was plus 132, so we are getting nice positive odds on the Giants. Now, do I like this pick enough to bet, or is it simply a lean or a play to avoid? Well, first let me say a few words about the blowout number 1 strategy and how it has done this year. Well, just like the blowout that just like the hot bats that I discussed earlier, it is also doing badly recently. It also has a 2-10 record over the past 12 bets. But over the entire season, it is still in profit territory. As a matter of fact, we have a plus 4% ROI by using this system during the 2023 campaign. So that's more reassuring. Whereas in the case of the hot bats, we have lost quite a bit of money by following this strategy this year. All right, now those 2 teams are headed in completely different directions. The Giants started the season with an 11-17 record, which was quite disappointing. But since then, they have a 24-17 record, which is great. And meanwhile, the Cardinals are not doing well at all. During their past 20 matches, they have a 6-14 record. So that's good if you plan to bet the Giants, of course. Now on the mound, we have 2 pitchers that have almost identical ERAs. Anthony DeSclafani has a 3.89 ERA, whereas it is 3.88 in the case of Jordan Montgomery. But as you know, I prefer to take a look at the famous whip statistic because it is more predictive of what's going to happen in the future. And based on this stat, DeSclafani is clearly better. This year his whip stat is 1.13, whereas Montgomery has a 1.33 figure. What else? Okay. Also, well, the Giants obviously have the better record this year. They also have the better run differential. San Francisco is plus 24 this year, whereas the Cardinals have a run differential of minus 10. It's quite interesting to note that both teams have performed about the same at the same level, whether they have been on the road or at home this year. They have similar records in both cases. All right, so in my opinion, this is worth taking a shot, and for this reason, the San Francisco Giants are my first official pick for today. Let's bring out the lucky lobster bell so that hopefully this pick will win. All right, so let me show it to you. This is an official pick. I have to admit I was quite surprised that the money line is that high on the Giants. I mean, they have the better team. They have been on a roll. The Cards are doing badly recently. And the pitching duel, the Cards don't have an edge in terms of the pitching duel. So that's a bit puzzling to me. It is clear that I want to take a shot on the Giants here. All right, let's see who else has joined the live stream. I'm going to take a look at some comments. Yes Freak says we are live from Scottsdale, Arizona. Larry Kelly, hello, let's get the coffee and donuts out. We will cash again. Thanks for being here, Larry. Alan Miles says good morning. Good morning, my friend. Hello to Sunny Springs. Brian Willerton. All right, Jeff Hawkins. Thank you, everyone. Francisco Rocha from Chicago. We have Jeff Hawkins from Kentucky. Thanks, everyone, for being here. So, Sunny Springs is asking what was the first official pick. So, the first pick is the Giants. The first system pick, in case you missed it, was the Miami Marlins, but I don't like it enough to bet, so I decided to pass. Now we have another team that fits the blowout, and it is the Philadelphia Phillies, who completely, wait a second. Yeah, so the Phillies completely destroyed the D-backs yesterday, 15-3. So they indeed won the game by a margin of 8 runs or more. They are playing the same opponent today. So based on the blowout number 1 strategy, we have to take the Phillies. But hold on, let me check if I like this bet enough to place a wager. So on the mound, we have Ranger Suarez for the Phillies. To be completely honest with you, I don't like this guy too much. I find it hard to trust him. But I have to admit that he has shown some big signs of improvement recently. There is a big difference between how he performed in his first 3 outings versus his last 3. During his first 3 starts, he posted an abysmal 9.82 ERA. But in his last 3, his ERA was 1.83. 1.83. That's awesome. So I've got to give him some credit for that. But still, he is facing Merrill Kelly, who I believe is much more reliable. He has posted 7 quality starts during his past 8. And also, if you look at both pitchers' stats from last year, Kelly was much better. He had a 1.14 whip stat compared to 1.33 for Suarez. So in the end, I've decided to avoid this pick. I have to admit I was close from rating it a lean. So basically this is up to you again. So this either is a lean or a play to avoid. All right, let's move on to the 4th system pick for today, which is supported by the comeback betting strategy that I like quite a bit. And here are its rules. There are 3 criteria that must be met. So first, you want to bet a team that came back from a deficit of at least 4 runs in their last game before winning it, of course. They must be facing the same squad today, and their money line today must be better than minus 175 in American format. So that means the money line could be minus 170 or minus 160, minus 125, or they could be underdogs. But what we want to avoid are big favorites, because based on my data set, my 7-year data set, this system did not do well when taking big favorites. All right, so which team fits all these criterion? Let me show you. The answer is the Yankees, because yesterday they were down 5-1 through 3 innings of play, but they ended up storming back for a 7-6 win against the New York Mets. And they are indeed facing the same team today, and their money line is much better than minus 175. In fact, at the time I took this bet, the money line was minus 103, if I remember correctly. So this is basically a pick 'em game. All right, now, do I like this bet enough to put some money at risk? Well, first, let me tell you that this time the comeback strategy has done well recently. During the past 12 bets that met all the criteria for betting, the average odds were plus 100, or 2.0 if you are more familiar with decimal odds. And the record was 8-4, so that's great. We did rack up some nice profit using this strategy recently. All right, now Garrett Cole will be starting for the Yankees. He will be facing Justin Verlander, and to me, it's quite obvious that Cole is more consistent than Verlander. He owns a 1.14 whip stat versus 1.33 for Verlander. Now, Garrett Cole has started 14 games this year, and he has suffered just 1 loss. Now, I found a pretty interesting trend concerning Garrett Cole, and it is a source of concern if you want to bet the Yankees. But during Cole's first 7 outings, he allowed 0 home runs. But in his next 7 games, he surrendered 9 long balls. So as of late, he did give up many home runs to his opponents. But granted, he did face some tough opponents. He played the Rays twice and the Baltimore Orioles. So this is a stretch of 3 games where he faced some high-octane offenses. Okay, I have some more notes for you. As far as Justin Verlander is concerned, he had some command issues against the Braves. He had a pretty poor outing. He allowed 5 runs in just 3 innings pitched. And you have to admit that things could have been even worse, because the Braves, during those 3 innings, they left 6 runners on base. So they could have scored even more runs and do more damage. Of course, I'm going to bring up the fact that Verlander is 40 years old and maybe he is starting to show his age. Also, some more interesting statistic that I found about this matchup. Suppose you focus on the Yankees' past 10 road games against right-handed pitchers. Can you guess what their record was? 9-1. So they have had a lot of success on the road against right-handed pitchers. Now, some might argue, well, the Yankees have been more shaky recently as they have a 5-6 record. But if that's called shaky, then I don't know which word we're going to use to describe the Mets, who have a 1-9 record during their past 10 games overall. I also have 2 more trends to tell you about the New York Mets this time. If you look at their past 29 games against teams with a winning record, the Mets did very badly. They had a 7-22 record. So when they are facing strong teams or simply above average teams, they have completely collapsed. And also, if you look at their last 8 games against right-handed pitchers, the Mets have won just one of those 8 games. So for all of these reasons, you can see me coming with my decision, which is that I like the Yankees enough to bet. This is an official pick. I'm taking the Yankees at minus 104 odds, which is the same as 1.96 in decimal format. All right. Okay, now I said that I would have a fifth game to discuss that is not supported by any of my betting strategies, but that I like as a result of my own analysis of the current matchup. And you may not be surprised by the pick in question if you watch my video from yesterday where I said that, well, remember that we took yesterday the LA Angels at Texas. And remember that I said that I would not be surprised if the Angels swept the 4-game series. Now they have done half of the job by winning the first 2. And now I'm going to take them again today, but pay attention closely because I'm not taking the Angels for the full game money line. I decided to go with the Angels plus half a run for the first 5 innings. So in other words, I am banking on LA to either lead after 5 innings or to be tied with the Rangers. I placed my bet at minus 112 odds earlier today. If I remember correctly, this line was available with, give me a second, with the Stake Sportsbook. But then I saw many bookies that had a line of minus 120. Now you may, if you are wondering, so why am I taking the first half only? Well, basically, I have a statistical model that estimates the money line for the entire game of each matchup. It also estimates the what's going to happen during the first 5 innings, the total for the entire game, the total for the first 5 innings, whether a run will be scored or not during the first inning, and I basically take what is the best value. And in this case, my statistical model believes that there is a bit more value with the first half rather than the entire game. But if you were to ask me, well, Professor MJ, do you think that betting the Angels for the entire game is also a smart wager? Well, my answer would be yes, I think so. But it's just a matter of preference. I'm going to follow what my statistical model is telling me. And in this case, I will grab the Angels plus half a run for the first 5 innings. All right. In the case of that game, we have Reed Deitmers facing Andrew Heaney. Deitmers has had an interesting 2023 season because in each of his first 10 starts, he allowed either 2, 3, or 4 runs. So in other words, he did not have any ugly games, but he did not have any great game either. However, in his last outing, he allowed just 1 run to the Chicago Cubs. Now, Andrew Heaney will be facing his former team. He did play 7 years with the Angels. He's having a pretty good season. Now, he has shown a bit of signs of weaknesses lately by allowing 6 earned runs in 8 innings. But if you look at their whip statistic for the entire career, Heaney is a bit better than Deitmers. But in the end, I still like the Angels here. They have been on fire. They are 8-1 in their last 9 games overall, whereas the Rangers have been collapsing. Now, I've been waiting for a few weeks for them to show some signs of weaknesses to start fading them. I knew they would go through a rough stretch at some point. So now I am trying to take advantage of it by fading them for a second straight day. They have a 1-5 record during their past 6 games overall. So again, my official pick here is the Angels plus half a run for the first 5 innings. Okay, now, so some people often ask me, can you give us a recap of the official picks? By the way, don't go away. I've got more information for you. But the official picks so far are the Giants money line, the Yankees money line, and the Angels for the first 5 innings with plus half a run. Now, there are 2 more games. I've got a bonus for you. I wasn't sure whether I would talk about it or not. There are 2 more teams that caught my attention. Now, I'm not going to bet them. I'm going to be transparent with you. I don't believe they are great bets, but I want to share with you some information that I found. And maybe if you were sitting on the fence about these 2 teams, maybe that will push you towards taking them. So if you force me to bet in the Toronto versus Baltimore game, I would tend to go with the Blue Jays. Now, you probably know the feeling where yesterday I bet the Blue Jays. This was my other official pick on YouTube. And that pick lost. They had a rough start. They trailed 8-1 early in the game, and they never recovered. Now, it's always hard to bet the same team again for a second straight day after they lost, because if you lose again, you feel like a loser, basically. But if you really force me, I would go with Toronto. They are starting Jose Berrios, who in his past 4 outings, he has allowed just 4 earned runs in 24 2/3 innings. So in case you are wondering, that corresponds to an ERA of 1.46. And that is despite facing some pretty good teams. He faced the Astros, the Mets, the Twins, and the Rays. So that's outstanding. Berrios has been on a roll. He will be facing Kyle Bradish, who has average numbers. He is basically an average pitcher. So I would tend to go with Toronto here. And I am also tempted to take a pretty big underdog, the Cleveland Guardians, whose money line, let me check what it is right now. Earlier today, it was around plus 140. I just want to verify if it has changed or not. Yeah, it's still around maybe more like plus 135 with many bookies like DraftKings, Caesars, BetMGM, Bet365. They all have a plus 135 money line. And to me, that seems like a pretty high money line. And I'm tempted to go with Cleveland here. They will be starting Aaron Civale, who since coming back from the injury list, he has allowed just 2 runs in 9 2/3 innings pitched. And that was against the Red Sox and the Twins. So he has been great. And even in prior years, he has been quite solid. He will be facing Michael Wacha, who in his past 7 starts, he owns a sparkling 1.05 ERA. What? And that is probably one of the reasons why the money line is so high on Cleveland, but they are also starting a solid pitcher. And it's not like the Padres were a much better team than the Guardians. So again, I am tempted to go with Cleveland here. Okay, I still have plenty for you. First, I want to show you a question that I received from my friend Carrie Rutland. He asked me, when does it make sense to bet the run line, and when is it a bad idea to bet the run line? Now, I'll try to give an answer that is as intelligent as I can, but first, let me share with you my own experience with the run line. So, last year and earlier this season, I placed a bet and I suggested to bet big favorites with the -1.5 run line on many occasions. So when my betting systems would tell me to bet a big favorite, for example, at -210 odds, then I would go on to bet them with the -1.5 run line instead because I wanted the higher odds. But you know what? I got burned on several occasions. Now last year, let me show you something. Hopefully you can see pretty clearly. I'm going to make it bigger for you. Last year, during the 2022 season, I recommended 380 bets. Those plays generated a profit of 11.25 units. That was from risking just 1 unit per wager. Now, and I remember focusing only on games where I bet the -1.5 run line and the performance was bad. You can see one of those. Well, I'm not sure if you can read it because it's quite small, but on April 11, I took the Braves -1.5 against the Nationals and the pick lost. So when I focused only on games where I took the -1.5 run line, we lost money. So, and as you could see, over the entire season, we had a positive year. So I really wish I did not do it. And when the season began, the 2023 season began, once again, I was tempted and I did pick teams with the run line, big favorites. And again, I got burned on several occasions. Either the team would lose, or in many cases, my team won the game by a 1-run margin. So basically, my system was right. The team won the game, but I still lost because I was too greedy and I went with the run line. So about 1 month ago, I said, enough is enough. I'm going to stop betting the damn run line because I've had such a bad experience with it. All right, so that's about my own experience. Now, let me try to answer the question. So when is it a good or bad idea to bet the run line? Well, in my opinion, and based on the mathematics, as you know, I'm a 15-year university statistics teacher, so of course I'm going to use numbers. Well, if you want to bet a -1.5 run line, you need to focus more on games with a high total. So for example, if I were to tell you that a game will end with 15 runs scored, then it is fairly unlikely that it will end by an 8-7 score exactly, which will make you lose the game, lose your bet. And in the opposite, if I told you before the game, well, in that game there will be just 5 runs scored, now it is much more likely that your team will win 3-2, which will make your bet lose. So that's why I'm saying that if you are betting -1.5 run line, it is better to focus on games with a high total. And as you can expect, if you want to bet the underdog, a big underdog with the +1.5 run line, it is best to do it on games where you expect few runs to be scored, because they might lose by 1 run, and that will be fine. You will still win money. So thanks, Carrie, for your question. First, let me check if we have some questions or comments in the chat. I wonder what is in the cup, he's asking Rick. In my cup, it's just plain water. I'm sorry to disappoint you. Maybe you were expecting some beer. Well, by the way, here's something that you may not be aware of, but I don't drink beer. In fact, I don't drink alcohol at all. I just don't like the taste of it. I know it's cool to be drinking alcohol, but I mean, to me, it tastes like crap, so I just don't drink alcohol. Okay. Garrett Moran is asking, anyone know what he said about Miami in the beginning? So again, I said to avoid it. Tommy Thompson, you said fade them. No, that's not true. Tommy, don't give wrong information to Garrett Moran. I never said to fade the Miami Marlins. All I said was I decided to stay away from the game. My systems are telling me to bet the Marlins, but I'm not going to do it. But I never said you should bet the Mariners, their opponents. Keith Davis says, great answer and breakdown, Professor. Michael Kingdom is here. Thank you for being here. By the way, Michael is our winner from last week's prediction contest. So stay tuned for one more minute. I'll give you some details about the prediction contest. He's the one that won it. Phil Hamel says, not a big drinker either, Prof. That's great. I don't drink booze either. Tastes horrible. Oh, so that reassures me. I'm not the only one who doesn't drink beer. I thought everyone would believe that I'm weird. Jimmy Kuya doesn't drink alcohol either. Wow, that's amazing. Luis Oliva says, I drank for decades, gave it up 2 years ago, and never looked back. Wow, I'm so proud of you, man. Good job for doing it. Okay, so one more thing I wanted to talk about was the prediction contest. So again, you need to go to mjpicks.com and enter your picks. Again, I can show you very, very quickly. Right here. So once you log in, you click on free contests, and you can see there's only one open contest called One Day MLB Prediction Contest, June 14. The rules are simple. You need to pick the winner of each of today's 12 MLB games that will start at 7 p.m. or later. And you must grade them from 1 to 12. And the pick that you like the most should be rated 12 because it can give you 12 points if it wins. And you should rate the pick you like the least with 1 point. And the person with the most points at the end of the day wins $50 US. Like our friend Michael Kingdom did last week. We also had a guy from Venezuela winning a few weeks ago. If there's a tie among several contestants, I will do a random draw and tell you who the winner is in tomorrow's YouTube video. All right. By the way, this morning I shared 2 more MLB picks at mjpicks.com. I want to remind you quickly that it's only $3.50 per day because the free picks that you get on YouTube are just a portion of all of the baseball picks I provide. I also have picks on other sports, but now that the NBA and the NHL are over, we are still betting the WNBA once in a while. So this morning, I recommended a bet on the number of strikeouts to be recorded by Luis Castillo from the Seattle Mariners. And I also bet the total on the Colorado Rockies versus Boston Red Sox. So don't hesitate to join I believe there are more than 600 subscribers at mjpicks.com. So come and join us and play the free contest. You have nothing to lose, and maybe you will win the $50 prize. All right, so a big thank you for joining. I appreciate your time. I hope I will see you again tomorrow. I'll give you more MLB picks, but this time it will be a pre-recorded video, and I will announce the winner of my one-day MLB prediction contest. So thanks for being here, my friend. I appreciate you. This is Professor MJ from Quebec City in Canada saying so long.